Hello folks and welcome to the Rangers Review live pre-match with me, Jonny McFarlane and Chris Jack. Welcome Chris.
Oh, how are we?
Not bad mate, we've got plenty to discuss, plenty to chew over with that lineup as you can see at the bottom of the screen there. We've got Philippe Clement's first Rangers team and it's quite an interesting one. There's a lot to look at there, not least the fact that Lammers and Dessers, two players that many people would say potentially cost Michael Beale his job, are straight into the starting lineup in what looks to me, I might be wrong, but looks to me like a 4-2-3-1.
I think it's big calls on both of them, Jonny. I think if you're Clement, you're maybe saying, well, you can put an arm around them and say, look, forget the last couple of months. Your Rangers career starts here. Your Rangers career starts this afternoon. No, forget what has gone on. Forget the entire Michael Beale era almost. Now this is your day. If you are Dessers and you have that arm around your shoulder, if you can go out and you can score today and Rangers can win, play slightly better, it could be the afternoon that perhaps kickstarts your career. We've been waiting for that afternoon to happen for quite some time. It's not. I think people have all but written them off. I know a lot of people have written off Sam Lammers, but it's a big afternoon for both of them.
It's a difficult one because in terms of Clement, because he's not made any big changes, he's not made any decisive, I'm the manager and this is how I'm going to do things differently. This is kind of what you would expect from Michael Beale. He's kind of left himself open as if it doesn't work, then there will be criticism from the manager on the
straight
first
away.
Game.
I think there is that, but I think when he spoke at his press conference yesterday, he did rhyme off a number of players that are not fit for 90 minutes. A number of them, likes of Cantwell, likes of Jack, likes of Roof, are also on the bench. He asked him about Danilo yesterday, and he said, look, he's available and he'll be here if needed. So I don't think it's a massive surprise. I think that 11 that's playing is probably the fittest 11. That's the 11 that he thinks can get through the 90 minutes if the afternoon's going well. And you can give Cantwell 20 minutes just to get him back up to speed, give Danilo 10-15 minutes. I think that would be quite advantageous for him. But I think in the lineup as well, there may be some surprises in there. It's probably the team that he thinks can get through the afternoon, because we know how important an afternoon this is for Rangers. Need a result, need a performance, need to start building some momentum. So I think he's maybe playing it safe rather than going in and trying to do too much at once.
Yeah, I suppose what's quite interesting is Hibs are on an upward slope at the moment. They're performing quite well under their new boss, Nick Montgomery. And I suppose they will come into this with confidence, knowing Rangers maybe not in the best form. They've just lost a Cypriot team. So they might think, well, now's the time to have a go. And Nick Montgomery certainly said that in his pre-match. However, to me, that's playing right into Rangers' hands. Rangers have players that are good on the transition. Rangers have players that can deal with that. If it's a toe-to-toe situation, I think Rangers win comfortably. I'm surprised Montgomery won't go down the road of sitting in a low block, really getting this stadium frustrated. 30 minutes in, it starts to become quite a difficult place for Rangers players. Now, we put this to Clement at the press conference, and he sort of said, look, I'm prepared for both scenarios because I've seen Hibs and they do try to play football, but I'll be interested to see if they actually try that at Ibrox. So what do you make of that?
I think the other way of getting Ibrox on Rangers back is to come start well and score an early goal.
Well,
so, and if Hibs can start well, and if they can cause Rangers problems, that's certainly going to get the Ibrox crowds back up. It's obviously been a difficult few weeks for fans that have been coming here. Now, the Michael Beale era did not end well, obviously, and I think the crowd, as much as they're looking forward to seeing a Clement side in action, are looking forward to this new era. I don't think it'll take much for them not to get on the manager's back. He will get all the backing that he needs and he deserves. But I don't think it'll take much to get on certain players' backs. There's the players in that team who have been perennial underachievers over the last few seasons and over the last few months, and if they keep making the same mistakes, it'll be them that get the criticism now. The lightning rod of Michael Beale is no longer there. The shield of Michael Beale is no longer there to protect them. Anything goes wrong now, it's all on the players rather than on the manager. So I think that may be part of the Hibs thinking. If they can come and they can cause Rangers problems, they can get on the front foot. If they were to score early on, that then asks very different questions of Rangers and asks a certain question of the Ibrox crowd as well.
Yeah, listen, it's going to be interesting. There's a lot of conversation in the comments about Scott Wright, as you might expect. lots of people saying that it's a strange decision. It's not one they were expecting. People saying Scott Wright's a red flag. Scott Wright must be like Brandon Barker in training. We had that great story from Alexander Arnold last week saying that he was the best player that he ever played against in youth football, and he absolutely torched them. And actually, we heard that a lot from insiders during Brandon Barker's time at Rangers, that if he could replicate what he was like in training, then he would be, outstanding. It never quite worked for him. But regardless of any of that, Scott Wright, I suppose, is one of only a very limited number of players that Rangers have who are fit at the moment that can play wide. And if the manager wants to play with two wingers, then he's got to play.
The squad has not been assembled to have pacey wide men in their mind. That's not how Michael Beale built the squad. That's not how he was going to go about things.
Yeah.
So if Clement does want to go about that way, he's going to have to make do with what he's got. What he's got is Scott Wright, basically. There's very few. Certainly, Matondo is injured. Again, look at the bench. If he wants to change it like for like, it's then Ross McCausland that's coming in. So there's not a lot of pace, not a lot of wide men or natural wide men that can go and hug the touchline in the Rangers squad. It might be something the manager maybe looks to address in the January window if he decides this is the way to build his Rangers side. Until we get to that stage, you might find that Scott Wright actually gets not a consistent on the games, but he is going to be involved. He is someone I know who the fans are not, as I see from the comments, not exactly delighted to see him involved this afternoon. But again, as the manager said on Tuesday, he's unveiling the press conference. It's a fresh sheet of paper for everybody that's coming in. They've got a chance to impress. If Scott Wright can come in and play well, he maybe keeps his place on Thursday night. If he doesn't play well, you're then maybe looking at Osland coming in, or you're maybe looking at a change of system and maybe just going with a pacier option and Seaman rather than the two of them. So I think there's a lot of guys in there. Obviously, Sam Lammers is another one. Guys have got questions to answer. If they don't do it over the next couple of weeks under the new manager, I think at that stage it's safe to write off the Rangers' careers. Yeah,
we've got a little bit of information here while we've been talking. We've had the team sheet, and it's quite interesting looking at that. In terms of Hibs, Dylan Vente, striker, Adam Lefondre, striker, Ellie Ewan, jet-heeled winger, Martin Boyle, he's quick and dangerous. So I think it's clear from that lineup that Hibs are going to go for it.
There's a lot of there's a bit of pace and there's a lot of attacking threat in that Hibs side. And fair play to Nick Montgomery for going that way.
Yeah.
How many times have we come? I've seen games here where teams camp in, they try and make it difficult, and they just try and frustrate Rangers. 9 times out of 10, it doesn't work because Rangers usually find a way of winning the game anyway. So he's maybe feeling that if he's got that a surprise cameo there, he's maybe feeling that if he's got that attacking threat in his squad, by all means go and use it and just go and see what problems they can go and cause Rangers this afternoon.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a very fascinating game. Listen, we'll just touch on the subs because the bench is quite interesting before we wrap this up. I mean, you look at it there, you'd have to say, Ridvan, Cantwell, Roof, Davies, Danilo. There's a lot of players that you would imagine some people would consider would be first-team picks. Now, we know these injuries, we know there's lack of fitness, etc., etc. But I suppose the very least, Clement has players that he can turn to should this game not be quite going the way he wants. If you bring on Cantwell and Danilo, the crowd's going to get a lift. So it's good to suppose, first of all, to have that, and secondly, it's good to see Danilo back after what was such a horrific injury. And I suppose we'll see him in that Batman mask as the game
up the next few weeks. I think the bench is the strongest that I've looked for a couple of weeks now. Obviously, still got like Tom Lawrence back into that as well. And the manager does have options. So when Serbia is fit, he does have a lot of options, certainly middle to front. There's a lot of players that can play a number of different positions, gives them a bit of variety tactically, certainly a lot of variety in terms of personnel. So I think it's good to see the squad looking a bit healthier. And I think regardless of how the game's going, if Rangers need a goal, there's likes of Cantwell, Roof that you can go and put on. If the game's going well, you can then bring Jack back and give him 10, 15, 20 minutes, give Cantwell a bit of time, give Roof a bit of time, maybe give Danilo a bit of time. Because I know that the manager mentioned on Friday that he's getting more accustomed to wearing the mask. It's obviously a big change for him, and it's different wearing it in a game situation as it is in just a normal training situation. So I think it would be good if they can get him some match time wearing it. Hopefully that bodes well for him being more involved over the next couple of weeks.
Indeed. Talking of players that are going to be more involved in the coming weeks, we thought perhaps Dujon Sterling might be one of those guys, but he's not even in the squad today. Certainly wasn't mentioned as being someone with an injury.
No, it wasn't mentioned yesterday at all. I think if you look at the defensive options, obviously Yilmaz is in there, Davies and Balogun, so you maybe think that Sterling would have taken Balogun's place.
Yeah.
But no, it wasn't someone that the manager mentioned yesterday, and it was one of the names where I ran through the subs when the teams came out. It was one of the names that stood out, so maybe I'll find out post-match if he's picked up something, or if he's just not actually involved through just a selection choice.
Yeah, and I suppose the same as with Kieran Dowell. I know he's been struggling with an injury, but I think
He's still not much ready.
okay.
Still not fit.
Was that from the presser yesterday?
Dowell's not fit, and Zach Lovelace is not fit.
Right enough. Yeah. Right. Okay, guys. Well, listen. We're going to call it a day. We'll hopefully come back pretty much in the minutes after the game finishes, and we can have a bit more of an assessment of what we've actually seen. It's going to be very interesting to see what Philippe Clement has done with this team in training in the last 5 days. I think it's important to remember he's not had an awful lot of time.
No.
I mean, he talked to the presser quite interestingly and quite eloquently about dropping down some seeds and seeing how they flower over the next 90 minutes. But I think it's going to be a big ask to expect an enormous change. You know, this is a struggling team, so we'll be pouring over it, and hopefully we'll see something that we can get our teeth into after the game. So, listen, guys, thanks for joining us, and we'll be back after the game to discuss whatever took place here at Ibrox today. Until next time, thanks.